Hey everyone, welcome again to the BATTASS podcast, the Batman the Animated Series Show podcast, where we talk about Batman the Animated Series. My name is Clay McCormick, and with me is...
Sean Murphy.
And we'll be talking about two episodes tonight. We'll be talking about I Am the Night and Off Balance. I guess let's just get into I Am the Night. Do you have your eyeshadow on and The Cure playing in the background?
When I texted you and said, "Oh, this is the mopey emo one," did you? How long into the episode until you realized that was right?
Well, it opens. Let me read the description and then we can get into that.
Okay.
On the anniversary of the death of Bruce's parents, Batman accompanies Leslie Thompson to Crime Alley to place roses on the spot where they were gunned down. Meanwhile, Commissioner Gordon is on a stakeout to arrest Jimmy the Jazzman Peake during a drug-smuggling ring. Batman had promised to be there, but arrives late to find a gun battle going on. He helps defeat the gangsters and arrest the Jazzman, but at a high cost. Gordon is severely wounded. The incident traumatizes Batman, and he contemplates giving up his crime-fighting career, despite the Jazzman escaping prison to carry out his personal vendetta against Gordon, who had sent him to prison 6 years before. Yeah, the first shot of this is Batman, like, sighing heavily while sitting in a sitting in a chair in the cave. This is a pretty emo episode of Batman.
Yeah, it is. You know, as when you mentioned it to me, I got excited because I thought I liked this episode.
Yeah.
But I think the thing I like about it really is the end where Gordon says that, if I was younger, maybe I could have been like you, or something like that. It was a nice moment between Gordon and Batman. For me, that goes a long way, but that would excuse a lot of the other things in this episode, which I think need to be ironed out.
Yeah. I think the thing that's funny about it is it's one of those instances where Batman is giving himself a lot of shit for not being there for Gordon, and everybody around him is like, "Oh, don't blame yourself. You can't be everywhere at once." He 100% could have been there on time. Like, there's no reason that he had to go visit his parents at. I guess unless it was the exact time or whatever that they were shot. But I mean, it's been a long time. Right. I feel like you could swing by there at lunch or something.
Right. And a few things. Also, this is like a fully funded police department in a major city. They've got to have the resources to be able to do this stuff without Batman.
Yes,
then. Like, just because he's late, everything falls apart. I don't buy that at all.
Yeah, Batman should not be the linchpin in whether or not the police manage to pull this off effectively.
Exactly. And I also don't know why they had to put the rose in Crime Alley. I don't know how that ties to the story exactly. Yeah,
I guess it's just a tradition that he and Leslie do. A tradition we've only seen them do this one time.
Well, there's an episode called Appointment in Crime Alley, and it's him and Leslie with the rose, and then there's this Rupert Thorne, or the other guy. I always get him mixed up.
Not Daggett.
Yeah, thank you, Daggett.
Yeah.
Daggett has a scheme, and Crime Alley is tied into where Daggett is pulling off this plan. Like, it all makes sense why you have him and Leslie and the roses. And this one, I feel like they just do it for fan service, but that's all. Batman could have just been late, and then something could have happened to Gordon, and then he could feel the guilt. Like, the thing, the kid at the end, there's this kid that shows up, and he's like a homeless kid or whatever, and Batman tries to help him out. There's like a few threads in this that I don't think need to be here at all.
Right.
Like, they could work if you picked better ways to use them, but they're just kind of thrown in, and then you've got this guilty Batman through the whole episode. I don't even know where to begin with this one, honestly.
Yeah, I think the roses thing is, it's an excuse. He's very introspective in this episode, obviously, where he's kind of reassessing the entire Batman idea after he's late for one appointment. And so I assume that the inclusion of the crime alley thing where his parents were killed is just a way to ground that idea, instead of him, if he's out punching the Riddler in the face or something, and that's why he's late. That doesn't quite have as much personal resonance, as it would, as it does bringing his parents into it, But yeah, it's the kid thing is weird, and ultimately, I don't know. It's weird that that's like the uptick at the end of the episode is the homeless kid being like, you know what, Batman. You told, I think I'm going to go back home. Being homeless kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have an episode where Batman helps a homeless kid out, do it. And you can use the same character, the same voice actor. Like, I thought the dialogue was pretty good with that kid. I don't mind him so much, but I just don't know why it had to be here. And you could have a crime alley thing, but you need to tie it in better. I mean, I don't know why...
Mm-hmm. Well, they do have that line. He does have that line where he says that Commissioner Gordon is the same age his father would have been if his father were alive.
Yeah, that gets me closer to what I'm looking for, I guess. But I just didn't think they had enough of that stuff. Like, I needed another reason why it had to be that, or maybe Leslie Thompkins could be involved in the resolution of the story somehow. I mean, they're just not tied in at all. They're not tied together at all. I mean,
yeah, I kind of wish that Batman's reason for being late was almost a little bit more. I guess it is kind of selfish, but it's not. He gets tied up with the muggers, I guess.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes him late. But I kind of wish it was explicitly selfish, like he hangs out too long at Crime Alley, or maybe he just like falls asleep or something. Like maybe he goes, what about this? What if he goes to visit his parents' grave, right? Because it's the night that his parents were killed. And he puts the roses down, and he's been out, because Leslie later on says that it's like 3:00 in the morning or something. And he's been out fighting crime all night. And so he swings by his parents before he goes off to this stakeout thing, and he just falls asleep. Like where it's something about the wear and tear of everything, and the fact that maybe he's losing a step that's taken him off his game, or caused this to happen, and cause him to reassess whether or not this is the right thing to do, something like that.
I would also make it his dad's birthday or something like that. If you want to talk about Gordon being the same age, then have it be Thomas Wayne's birthday, and that's why Bruce is at the gravesite distracted or something like that.
Sure.
Like, he can have a moral crisis that slows him down in the beginning of this. Doing it that way at least ties it to the sadness he feels when Gordon gets hit.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other thing too is, so basically what the plot is Batman's got the blues. He's late. Gordon gets injured. Batman feels bad. He has the blues even more, and kind of wants to quit. He literally throws his mask down into the depths of the Batcave.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Jazzman, the guy who's responsible for Gordon getting hurt, is still out there. It's like, I feel like if he can have the blues at the beginning, but Gordon being injured and the perpetrator running loose should be enough to snap him into, get Batman motivated to track this guy down. I don't know why he's mopey for so long, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like I don't feel like his turnaround is really that earned either,
No.
Like
I agree.
The title of the episode is I Am the Night, and I completely forgot to read who directed and wrote it. I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
Written by Michael Reeves, directed by Boyd Kirkland. The title is I Am the Night, which implies that it's like a big statement about Batman and who he is. And, it feels like his depth should be even deeper, and his height should be even higher. And, to have that sort of realization at the end that, I am the night, I am Batman, or whatever the implication is here.
Right.
And it just doesn't have that. It's really kind of a middle-of-the-road story.
Right.
Where, I don't know, it didn't really do much for me.
No. And when you said that Batman's turnaround, I agree that it's really weak. Robin is the one that's brought in to have a pep talk with him.
Yeah.
And Robin's pep talk lasts for 3 scenes. One of the scenes is basically cut into 2 for no reason. It's just divided. When Robin goes Robin goes to him first in the Batcave, where Batman's dressed as Batman. He's standing on a rock, and it's all dramatic looking. That scene it's cut in half basically, so you can get back to the B story. So there's no reason why that had to be so long. And then, so that's 2 scenes right there of Robin confronting Batman. And then the third one is Bruce Wayne in his den in a robe, and Robin is going for round 3 to try to convince him. And the thing that convinces Batman to get back into gear is Robin says, you taught me everything I know about crime fighting, but the number 1 rule was never give up. And I just don't think that's very strong. Right.
And the following thing after that is when they get the heads up that the Jazzman has escaped or whatever, and Robin's like, you know what? Sit here. I'm going to go do this myself. And it's like, that's the thing where Batman's like, well, I don't want you to do this because you're not good at it. So I'm going to do this myself.
Yeah, it's not enough. I mean, I feel like all right, I think Robin confronting him and snapping him out of it is fine, but I would cut that down to 1 scene. I would have Batman, he needs to say something better to get Batman back to being motivated. Either he doesn't want Robin to go alone, or Robin says something that's a really good point, or some other reason that kicks Batman back into high gear. I think that there's a good episode here, but you really need to shuffle some things around, edit some stuff out, and then streamline the whole thing.
Yeah, because they have this little beat in there too, where Batman is talking to Robin. I think he's talking to Robin. It's either Robin or Alfred, and he's essentially getting into why him being Batman is bad for everybody else. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I feel like that could have been a whole thread too, where Robin comes to try and talk him out, and he's like, man, you're as much of a victim here as Gordon is. You shouldn't be in here with me. This should be like Batman isolating himself even further away, realizing that having Robin around is not a good idea, because it's just going to get people hurt. I do think, I think you could potentially get like a mini series of comics out of this story. And here they kind of just, they give you kind of like, not even like a shallow end. It's like you don't even get into the pool, really. You just see that the pool is there, but you don't really go for a swim so much. Yeah, no, I feel like there's about 5 little subplots here, which could be interesting on their own, but they're just sort of thrown together. I like Batman being sad. I like him questioning being Batman, of course. Like I could see a whole episode like that. I like a Robin pep talk. That's great. I like Jim being a father figure. And, he might lose his dad because Jim said, I get that. Like that could be another one. But as it stands, it's just, everything's just so disjointed that I just don't think it's very good. Yeah, it's unfortunate because it has, and also the villain too. Like, who the fuck is the Jazzman? So I didn't know about that. You have this amazing score by Shirley Walker in every single episode. Mm-hmm. And this one's, it's just kind of meh. And you have the bad guy that's called the Jazzman. Yeah, and yes. I almost wish that they had done some like crazy freestyle jazz and made him more of a remarkable character than he was. But I get why they didn't. I mean, you have this really devastating story where Gordon might die. The last thing you want is some crazy jazz going on in the background. Like, I get that it doesn't fit the mood. Well, so go ahead. Well, I was going to say, think about how many movies would feature that kind of jazz score over like, a noir type movie where the main character is at the lowest of lows, I don't think it would be that out of place. I think they did really miss an opportunity. I was thinking of like, you're right. I was thinking of light, peppy jazz. I wasn't thinking of Lethal Weapon jazz. Oh yeah. No, I'm thinking Lethal Weapon. Like it's just, saxophones and sunsets. Cowboy Bebop style jazz, like fun, happy, perky, like Dick Tracy jazz. That would be kind of weird, yes. And is the Jazzman? The Jazzman is the only villain in Gotham who like didn't go to the villain armament dude. Like was he too cool for it and he didn't want to, or did he go and the guy was like, listen, all I have is I've got one saxophone and you can get one henchman who is dressed like a musical note, but that's all I got for you right now. And he just thought that was just not enough for. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Jazzman is maybe he's trying to be cool by having a name but not having a look, because he's just a dude.
He's like. I bet the guy sold him, like, here's what you got to do. You got to this, you got to that. I got a bunch of notes. Like, you got a whole chorus. You don't have henchmen, you have a chorus. You like that? So if you want this package, it's going to cost $1,000. And the Jazzman's like, hey, I don't have the money, or whatever his voice sounds like.
Yeah.
So he walked out of there without paying, and he just decided to go with the jazz theme. And meanwhile, the guy that hooks him up's like, all right, if you think you can pull it off, but I'm telling you, it's a waste of a name.
Yeah. Listen, I understand you don't have money till you pull a job, and you can't pull a job until you have henchmen. It's the catch-22 of the masked villain. I understand.
Yeah. Hey, Jazzman, I got a word for you. Lay away. All right, see you next time. I do take deposits. I do take points. I got to work in my my tough guy advisor voice.
Yeah, he's just. I guess a more. Also, he's one of the more effective villains, isn't he? Because he manages to shoot Gordon and almost gets away. And he's like a more straightforward, kind of like realistic villain who actually doesn't dick around with gas bombs and like riddles and shit. He's just out there to score money and shoot people.
Yeah, all he does is carry his guns in a guitar case of some kind.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much. He's got a very unique face, a very unique voice.
That's what it is. He didn't go to the guy. He was just like, I'm going to call myself the Jazzman, and I'm just going to, my thing is I'm going to carry my guns around in a saxophone case, and, people will get it. And then, somewhere the guy's like, you should have come to me. I could have hooked you up. It would have been great. None of this dime store bullshit you're working with here.
If they had a follow-up episode where the Jazzman goes to him and has to admit, like, I should have bought your package. Like, well, what do we have here? Guess what, asshole? Price just went up 20%.
And the name the Jazzman is taken. You are now the music boy. But, I think it makes sense in the grand scheme of things that it wasn't like a big-name villain, because I think that takes too much focus off the story. If it was Joker or Two-Face, then it would become about that,
Mm-hmm. Well, if they went into the father figure thing, let's just say that it was Thomas Wayne's birthday, and you've got Gordon getting hurt, and then you've got Tony Zuko as the villain, then there might be a thing there. There might be a story there.
Yeah, Zuko would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those guys I think would probably have worked,
So now you have a story about grief a son has for a father. That's your plot, basically. So you'd have to redo a lot of this stuff, but that would work.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because there's definitely good stuff in there. It was even a tough one. I mean, I guess there's really not much else to say about it. The only thing I was thinking is it's the second appearance of Barbara Gordon, which is fun.
Yeah.
It's they mentioned Stonegate Prison. Is this the first time that they mentioned Stonegate? I think that it is.
Oh yeah, good question.
I could be wrong.
I remember. I think it's in at least two more.
It's in the next one, definitely.
There's a Poison Ivy episode with Stonegate in it, and I remember another breakout involving a helicopter that was right in Stonegate.
Yeah.
Because it's so obviously designed to look like a ship, like a barge, like a, I don't know, Rikers Island type thing, but they always use the same angle when they show Stonegate, which is, it's actually pretty effective, I got to admit.
Yeah, it is always, it's like the nuclear power plant on The Simpsons. They have that one shot that they always use.
Exactly.
Stonegate first appeared in Pretty Poison, which was in the first season.
Okay,
it was,
that's what it was.
Poison Ivy episode, yeah. But every time I think of it, though, I don't know if this episode, not this one, but the one I'm going to mention in a minute, I don't know if this one just really stuck out to me because of when it came out, but every time I see that shot of Stonegate, I think about Bane.
Right.
Because I feel like maybe the Bane episode, or one of the Bane episodes, features heavily here. Like he busts out of there or something. I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah, maybe that's the one where there's a helicopter escape right in the yard.
Yeah, might be.
Not sure. Yeah, we'll get to that. One thing that bugged me too about the end of this, Batman's fighting with the Jazzman outside of Gordon's window. Gordon's unconscious in the hospital.
Yeah.
Batman shoves him through glass into Gordon's room. Barbara pulls a curtain to like stop the glass, and I don't know. She's got some. She's not totally useless in this scene, which is nice. And then Batman throws a batarang at the Jazzman's pistol, and it's like the scene starts to go slow-mo, and I don't know why they decided to do that, other than I guess they thought it would look cool or it draws out the tension, but I just didn't feel like they needed to do that at all. So Batman throws a batarang, it goes into the barrel of the gun goes off, it backfires, the guy's hand is hurt, and that's basically it.
Was I alone in thinking that in a different show that the throwing star goes into the barrel and he pulls the trigger and it just shoots the throwing star into Gordon? And then Batman's just like, I give up.
Yeah. Cut to him back in the cave, all mopey. Yeah. Why do I do this, Alfred? Sure, I've put out a few fires.
Yeah,
but I just helped someone shoot Gordon with a shuriken. This sucks.
I did notice the slow motion was kind of weird. Yeah, I think it was all just to draw the tension out. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an episode that really doesn't have a lot of conflict in it, really. You know, I feel like that's why some of the other stuff just really stands out as being, extraneous. I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean. Like the homeless kid stuff feels like it's just, padding, and there's 3 scenes with Robin trying to get him out of his funk. It all just seems like they didn't have really enough in there to get a story out of it, because there's no conflict there. No, except inner conflict, and that's boring to watch. Yeah.
Do you? I was going to ask you what you'd want to draw if you could draw something in this episode.
I don't even know for this one. It's not like it's not a terrible episode, but just visually, nothing really stood out to me that much. I don't know. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I put Gordon in the hospital. I've drawn Gordon in the hospital for a few of the issues coming out for White Knight, and I don't know why I hate drawing pool tables, as we've established, but I don't mind drawing hospitals. And I'm talking like people, propped up, pillows, wires, computer monitors, syringes, tables, things that skewed to the left, skewed to the right, whatever it is, plugged in, wires everywhere. Like that stuff sounds like. I would imagine a lot of artists hate drawing that stuff, but for some reason, I like drawing hospital stuff. Yeah. I'll pull out some references and get a few of the things right, like the IV bag and where the needle goes into the arm and stuff like that. But after I do a few of like recognizable objects in the hospital, I'll just start making stuff up. Just computer monitor, some technobabble, some blurry tools in the background. Who cares? And the other thing I like about hospitals is when you draw people in hospitals, you can cover everyone's faces with masks because, they're not trying to share germs. Right. So it cuts down on rendering big time. As long as you're willing to draw all the other stuff. You don't have to draw a lot of faces and mustaches.
Yes, yeah. It's funny. Up at this point, I have done 3 comic book series that have been published, and all 3 of them had hospital scenes that required me to draw people in hospital beds surrounded by equipment. And, I don't mind it. Yeah, I think they're kind of fun, depending on how you want to light them. You can be really, really have a lot of fun. Like that, not to toot your horn too much, but that one shot in White Knight of the Joker in the hospital bed where it's mostly dark. That's a fantastic shot. Like that stuff is a lot of fun to get into when you can do a lot with a little. But
for sure.
The thing that kills me every time, and in my head when I do my sketches and stuff, I always put these things in, and it always seems like it makes sense when I put them in. But then when I go to actually do the drawing, they're like so much more surprisingly complex to get right. Is like the things on the side of the beds that move up and down to prevent you from falling out, like those like handle things.
Those ovals. I don't know if they're called.
because there's so many different ones they come in so many different shapes. And like the place that they connect on the bed is always kind of strange, and like the perspective of it can be sort of weird depending on like, you know, you've got this thing that's at an angle, but it has a right angle bar in it, kind of, you know, it always throws me off. I always end up having to like rework the perspective that I've done for those panels because of those things.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I focus on when I draw a hospital bed, is because it's going to affect the camera angle, because if your camera's too low and those circular things are put in the up position, you're not going to be able to see who's in the bed. So I always make sure, like, figure out where those things are, figure out the angle they're at, because usually if the person's propped up, then those things are at, you know, diagonals. And then I'll figure out, like, kind of the rest of the panel around that. It's sort of like knowing where the tires and the bumpers are in a car. Like, before you really get started, you better nail those things down.
Yeah. Looking up hospital reference is always one of those things that hospitals are a lot more boring than you think they are, because unless you're in like the intensive care unit, there's not really a lot going on. But in your head, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to draw a hospital room. There's going to be like a million machines. There's going to be tubes and shit everywhere, right? It's like, well, I mean, if he's on his deathbed or just had surgery, maybe. But if it's just a normal hospital room, that stuff is not really there. It's like a TV and a light.
Yeah, you look at, there's like a bar behind the wall. There's some stuff on the wall behind where the patient sits, a tray, an IV bag, you know, a few other things. I mean, you know, one tip that I will say, if you don't enjoy drawing hospital beds, I'd say when you reference hospitals, reference like hospitals from the 70s. Because I can't believe anyone survived back then, because there's almost nothing. I mean, outside of the ER, if you're just recovering, it's pretty fucking blank in those rooms. Very easy to draw. You have some like nice faux wooden paneling around some circuit, you know, some old school computers. I mean, yeah, it's a lot easier to draw that stuff.
Yeah, I I guess it was about a year ago now, I picked up a book, a Dylan Dog book by Massimo Carnevale. I think I showed it to you one time you came over, and that guy drew the fuck out of a hospital room. It's like, it's a horror book, so, you know, he has a lot of leeway, but man, he just kicked its ass, and it made me feel really bad about the stuff that I'd been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's real good.
Yeah, you know, that guy's definitely like top 10 right now on the planet for sequential artists, for sure.
So if I, you know, I was thinking about it, if I was going to pick something to draw, I actually feel like the slow motion thing at the end might be kind of fun. Because I feel like that kind of movement and that kind of pacing is very difficult to do in a comic, but I don't think it's impossible. So it might be kind of fun to play around with that, like how you break it up into panels, and, you know, are you just showing the action, or are you taking a panel or two to do like a look into Batman's mind or something to really slow it down? Do you get really abstract with the way things are going? I think there's some fun leeway in there to do a slow motion action scene like that. It might be kind of fun. Right.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
What would you give this one a rating?
I'm going to go 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. It's really, and you know, this is the first episode. I feel bad saying this, because I know he's swinging for the fence, but I feel like this is the first Kevin Conroy performance that I've actively disliked.
Huh.
It's so mopey, and it's so whiny, and he's so over the top, and he's going, oh, you know, it's just, I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. I can't, it's hard to judge the actors, because,
true.
I mean, unless you're in the recording studio with them, I mean, for all we know, the director's like, no, we need more mopey. More, you got to draw it out more. You got to sound more pathetic. Come on. I'm not going to let you leave. I'm not going to give you your paycheck until you give me what I need. And Kevin Conroy might just be rolling his eyes like, "Fuck, I just want to get out of here and get drunk."
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'm probably being unfair in criticizing that aspect. Because you know, I'm sure that's the difference with animation too is, what you do in the studio on the day, you never know how that's going to react with the stuff they actually put it with. So.
Yeah. I mean, you said Boyd Kirkland directed this one?
Yeah.
So maybe Conroy was like, shut up, Boyd. Fucking name is that anyway? I gave you Mopey. This is what you paid me for.
Listen, Batman doesn't do Mopey, but if he has to, he does it like that. Did you catch, at one point they said the Jazzman was sighted at the corner of Adams and O'Neill?
Oh, no, I didn't. That's
great, it's a shout-out to Neil Adams and Denny O'Neill, famous Batman writer and artist. Cool. And the orphan kid, was Seth Green.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
In my head, I thought, you know what, if this was live action, that would be Michael J. Fox from the 80s.
He looks like Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
I thought it was, for a couple seconds, I thought it was him, because he looks kind of like him, and he sounds a little bit like him.
Yeah. Yeah, but he would have been really expensive in 1992, so I can see why they went with Seth Green.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it for I Am the Night. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with Off Balance. All right, Off Balance, written by Len Wein, directed by Kevin Altieri. And in this one, while following Count Vertigo's trail, Batman encounters Talia, daughter of the head of the Society of Shadows, who was sent by her father to prevent the capture of a sonic drill that the Count stole. But after his identity is accidentally revealed to Talia, Batman remains off balance as to where her true loyalties lie. Ooh, that's a nice little play on words in there. Man, whoever wrote this one is having fun. Note, this episode is a direct adaptation of Into the Den of the Death Dealers from Detective Comics number 411, May 1971, by Denny O'Neill with art by Bob Brown. The story is famous for the first appearance of Batman's on-and-off lover, Talia al Ghul. I don't know about you, but I half loved this and I half hated this. Maybe hate. Yeah. Hate's not the right word, but it's like... The design of it, I thought, was great. It felt very Mike Mignola inspired, and there was a lot of cool, like Fleischer-esque type stuff. Like the castle and the lab were really cool. Talia's design looks great. Those ninjas and stuff had a cool look to them. But then Count Vertigo shows up, and he looks like a Venture Brothers character, and he looks so out of place and so goofy. And it was, anytime he was on screen, just really killed it for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I agree with everything you said. I would add to it, I thought the animation was really top notch in this one.
Yeah, it was solid.
The way that I like the way the gun looks. I like how it acts. The sound it makes. It doesn't just shoot a beam. It sort of gears up and it looks like a microphone gun, and the microphone cone lights up white, and then you look at what it's aimed at, and it's like a swirl of dust, and then the ground falls out. Like it's bringing in a team that could like take a set of stairs and bust it up and drop it. I mean, that's not everyone can do that well, and I thought that the animation and this stuff was like really top notch. They probably felt like, oh, this is going to be Ra's al Ghul's first appearance, so let's really make it look pretty. And Talia is so gorgeous in this. A side note, like I do think I'm not a big fan of Batman having romances generally. Like I think you have to be really careful when you do it. But I do buy his romance with Talia because she's kind of disconnected from everyone else he knows in Gotham, so it's kind of safe. She's sort of like the bad girl that no one's going to really find out that he banged or whatever.
Yeah, I've always, I think we touched on this briefly last season in the first Catwoman episode, because I think we were both talking about how we never really liked the Catwoman-Batman relationship. And I think we both said that we always preferred Talia. Talia feels like she makes more sense. Yeah. I get the Catwoman thing, but I always found Talia a little bit more interesting because there's this weird, like, I mean, they don't get into it here, obviously, because it's her first appearance, but there's always this weird sort of one-sided arranged marriage thing going on where
Right.
she's like, no, we're going to be together eventually. It's going to happen. And Batman's like, lady, I don't know who you are. Leave me alone. And it's a weird sort of reverse Pepe Le Pew thing.
That's a good analogy. I agree that the bad guy is a little dopey. I don't know what else I would have done, honestly. So here's a question that I was going to save for later. Is Vertigo part of the League of Shadows?
I'm not sure.
Because I was confused by the ending on this one. If I'm honest.
Because I thought that the ninja guys were working with Talia, but then at the scene at the docks, the ninja guys seem to be working with Vertigo.
Right.
And the way that she talks about him, it's as though he is some sort of he's involved with the League somehow. Or the Society, rather. I was going to mention that how it's every time this group shows up, it seems like they have a different inversion of their name. In this one, it's the Society of Shadows, which is pretty lame. Obviously, in the movies, it's the League of Shadows. And I think in some other place, it's been the League of Assassins. I think it's in the comics, is the League of Assassins.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of confusing as to what the status of this guy was.
Right. And I know that they wanted Talia to be mysterious, and then she turns on Batman in the last second. Like I know that that's what they wanted to get to. But what that means is all these ninjas and this guy Vertigo, she apparently was working with them. So I guess her raiding the castle and her fighting these ninjas in the woods and all the stuff that happened, all the booby traps that almost killed her was all set up so that she could get the gun from Batman, or so she could find out who Batman was. Like, I don't know what they were really going for there.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at the story from the comic, and it says in the story, Batman rescues Talia from Dr. Dark, apparently the leader of the League of Assassins. It is eventually revealed that the League is just one part of Ra's al Ghul's organization, the Demon, and that Dark apparently turned against Ra's after failing in a mission. The usual punishment for this is death. At the end of the story, she shoots and kills Dark to save Batman's life. So it sounds like he's kind of like dealing in his own offshoot of the League of Assassins. So I think something like that, yeah.
There was a line at the end when she's in the gyrocopter where she's talking to Ra's al Ghul, and she says, I've dealt with Vertigo, or Vertigo is taken care of. So I thought, okay, so maybe Vertigo went rogue.
Yeah.
And he took some League of Shadows agents with him, and she was sort of taking him back out of the equation to give her father control again, or there's some politics happening or whatever.
Yeah, I think what's missing is, unless I'm forgetting it, I don't think there's a scene with Vertigo and Talia where they really talk to each other.
Right.
And I think that would have gone a long way to have some sort of dialogue between them, you know, even if you want to keep it kind of shady to cover up what the true intention of it is, some sort of implication as to what their standing together is, you know?
Yeah. A couple tiny things I thought that were funny. So at the very beginning, it takes place on the Statue of Liberty, and this guy is giving Batman information on the League of Shadows. League of Shadows ninjas show up. Batman throws one over the... Oh, wait, what happens? It goes in the water. Oh, so the League of Shadows ninja takes the informant and throws him off the edge, and it looks like he's fucking dead.
Yep.
And he even says, like, this is what happens to people who cross us. But, of course, because of standards and practices, the guy hits the water and he pops up. So, like, okay, this is what happens to people that cross us. You get a little wet.
Yep.
You know? I'm pretty sure it would be more effective if he fucking died there. And then when the League of Assassins ninjas fail, their masks gas themselves and take themselves out, like an honorable death or whatever.
Which is the universal symbol in action movies for like arsenicking yourself and killing yourself.
Yes, but they were sure to tighten that up in the next scene and go, oh, they took a thing and gassed themselves and it made them forget everything.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I was thinking that too. As soon as they had that like ADR line of them being like, yeah, they gassed themselves and erased their own memories, I was like, that's definitely a note from the studio.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it would have been cool to see the PG-13 version of this, but it is a little dark when the guys are like, "Let's kill ourselves. We failed," or whatever.
Yeah.
But the people that crossed the league, they could have just thrown themselves in the water and gotten wet, according to their own rules.
That's true. Yeah. Well, actually, you know what's funny about that? Because I did write this down in my notes that apparently there's always a body of water for somebody to fall into. Technically, that ninja was not lying, because what happens to Vertigo at the end of this episode? Talia throws him into the moat outside from the window of the castle.
Yeah, they're nothing but consistent.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess, if you cross the League of Shadows, you get thrown into the water.
I think what happens is the League of Shadows will train you to do everything except for swim.
Yes.
So if they ever need to take you out, they'll just find a body of water and just chuck you in and watch you drown slowly.
Sounds right.
There's a point where Gordon's in the shooting range by himself in the dark, shooting at man-shaped targets.
Yep.
And Batman is suddenly there, standing directly in front of a man-shaped target, but it's slightly blocked out more because Batman's standing. I'm like, you might want to find a better place to stand, dude.
Yeah, I noticed that too, but I also noticed that after that shot, he walks in from the side.
Yeah.
So, like, he wasn't downrange at the shooting, right? Is that what?
That would have been way more stupid. You're right.
I think.
I think they had, like, targets hanging off the side behind in the safety part of the range. I don't know. If you grab a new piece of paper and you put it up, Batman standing in front of a stack of paper or something.
Yeah, it's probably not. It's an odd choice for him and probably not the best directed scene, but work with what you got, I guess.
So I mean, I don't understand why Batman has to sneak up all creepily on Gordon when he's holding a gun. Yeah. Why can't he just, hey, they let me in. There's a League of Shadows. We need to talk. Blah 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 blah. Why does he have to scare the shit out of Gordon every single time?
Yeah.
Like, I get why maybe he leaves and disappears because. I don't know. Maybe I don't get that either. What would it hurt if Batman's like, "All right, see ya. I'm going to leave now." I don't know why he has to just go off on his own.
He's already on the case, man. He doesn't have time to say bye to people. He's got to get the job done.
I like that he does it, but practically speaking, he really doesn't need to be an asshole.
Yeah. So Count Vertigo. If anyone's interested, he's primarily a Green Arrow villain, actually, and his fictional biography is he first appeared in Star City, where he attempted to steal back the jewels his parents had sold when they escaped to England after the war. The victim of a hereditary inner ear defect that affected his balance, Vertigo had a small electronic device implanted in his right temple that compensated this problem. Tinkering with the device, Vertigo learned he was able to affect other people's balance as well, distorting their perceptions so they literally couldn't tell up from down, an effect known as vertigo. Donning a costume and taking the name Count Vertigo, he embarked on a life of crime. This would bring him into conflict with heroes Green Arrow and Black Canary. Count Vertigo's black and green costume with its insignia of concentric rings, which is different from the show, was designed by Trevor Von Eden, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
So they brought him in because he was kind of an Easter egg to old school readers.
I think
right?
It was because this character Dark, Dr. Dark from the comic, probably didn't do anything cool, and Count Vertigo has like a cool thing that he can do. So that can that would be interesting to animate and could be a lot of fun with the twisting around of the ups and the downs and stuff like that. If I had to guess.
But you said his original costume was green and black rings.
Yes,
that was his. But they turned him into like, what's his name? M. Bison from Street Fighter.
Yes.
Here.
He does look like M. Bison. I imagine this guy walked into the supervillain store. And like he walked in fully formed. Like he walks in and the guy's just like, "I don't know what I can do for you. You are pretty much already there." Like, yo, to get a look at this fucking guy. Because he's so goofy. Like his power is pretty cool, but I don't know why they couldn't give him like a cooler look or something.
Yeah. I don't have anything vertigo-wise. I do have a M. Bison costume.
Yeah. How do you feel about capes?
Yeah, I don't know what else I would have done. The eye patch that makes you dizzy. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in this one that was kind of like head scratching because like the castle that they're in has all these booby traps in it, and is that like, did he do that? Also, my favorite scene in the episode is when Batman's trying to figure out where this guy is, and Alfred is just casually cleaning the penny in the background.
Yeah, I had that written down too.
And it feels like one is telling the other one to fuck off by doing that, but I'm not sure which one it is because it's like it's such a bullshit job.
Alfred is on a ladder polishing a 3-story penny.
Yeah,
basically squeaky, squeaky, squeaky.
So like I imagine either Alfred is doing it very passive aggressively because he's so bored, or he's doing it because like he ruined Bruce's pants and he's being punished.
It must have been that. I mean, you could just easily grab a power washer and take care of that in 2 seconds. I don't know why he's got to do it by hand.
But even then, at the end of that scene, it's like there was the logic they used to figure out where he is like dicey at best. Where he's like, oh, wait a minute. He didn't leave by the east. He went to the west. Computer, bring up all the castles in the west of God. You know, it was just kind of weird.
Oh, that's where Skeletor's castle is. The really evil-looking place that I haven't investigated for a while.
Yeah, so Talia, we talked about Talia a little bit. Talia's she's pretty much the same no matter where she shows up. I don't know if that's means she has a strong character or if she doesn't have that strong of a character, because she's always sort of like she's either a romantic interest, she's a villain, or she's some combination of the two. Ra's al Ghul, what's that?
She's brainwashed by her father. Like, she does everything her dad tells her.
Yeah.
So she's not empowered. She's just under the foot of her dad, I feel.
Oh, is that how it ends up playing out? I don't remember what happens with her.
Yeah,
later.
over and over and over. She's at least in this cartoon, she's always she does what her dad wants, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And Ra's al Ghul, I figure we'll hold off on talking about him until his first real episode because he's only in it at the end. Yeah.
So here's what I pose to you before we get into ratings. Here's what I think. If this episode, the first 99% of it, if you cut out Ra's al Ghul and you switched out Talia for Catwoman or any other female character.
Sure.
So this is not an introduction to Ra's al Ghul.
Yep.
Would you like the episode more or less? Or because it's Talia and because she has more meaning later on and because it's Raz's first appearance, does that give the episode a better score?
I think it does, yes. Because I was thinking as you were saying that, I was like, I wouldn't use Catwoman because Catwoman has too much history, because you're thinking Talia's got to be a character that's kind of new. So my first thought was to use Red Claw, and I don't like that character. Right. So
what if you use Talia, but you don't have her dad in it at all? You just set it up.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that kind of changes how the ending plays out, but I see what you're saying.
Right. But it's like cheating. At the very end, you go, "Oh my God, there he is," and you suddenly go up a whole other grade point. And I don't know if that's necessarily fair. Yeah,
I think, I think without him, I think it still works pretty well because there was a lot of stuff that I did like about it. I thought the animation, like you said, the animation was really cool. There's a great shot of Batman like swooping down, like an upshot of Batman swooping down that I feel like they took right off of a poster where he's like all in shadow and then he's coming down with the wings out and everything.
Yeah. And
that was really great.
And anytime the vertigo effect happens, everything starts to swirl. I mean, there was definitely some, you had to bring the chops to animate that kind of stuff. It was kind of like a funhouse effect,
Yeah. Yeah. And, the design was cool, but yeah, I think it's all ultimately just a long build up to revealing Ra's al Ghul. Because if you take him out, there's really not much of a story there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but if you did this episode and talked about the League of Shadows, like made that more of a thing, and then talked about this guy
who was trying to take over the League of Shadows. He was like a rogue wing of it, and she was there to stop him, basically. Then I think this would have been a lot better. And then you could still have the Ra's al Ghul thing at the very end, but make this about a terrorist organization where there's a power struggle. Make it more about that, because
right.
If that was what it was, it certainly wasn't very clear.
Yeah. And, the other thing I was thinking is Batman doesn't really bat an eye when she brings up the Society of Shadows. He's not like, hey, before we go any further, what is that?
Wait,
he
is that
just
like the League of Shadows? Or what's the other one?
Yeah, the League of Assassins. Yeah, like he never really like gets into that at all. He's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. Like, there's no for they kind of drop. It feels like they were so excited to get to Ra's al Ghul that they kind of dropped some of the story points that needed to be there along the way.
Yep, 100% agree.
Do you have anything? What would you want to draw on this one?
I don't want to draw a Vertigo effect.
Yeah.
I feel like that's drawing. I don't like drawing hallucination stuff. I don't like drawing magic, and I don't like drawing Vertigo effects type stuff. I think I would probably want to draw the gyrocopter. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Or Talia looks really like a really fun character to draw. And I do not enjoy drawing women. I always struggle. But when I look at her character design, I'm like, oh, awesome. Half her face is covered. Sweet. A lot of it's just in black. She's like Scarlet from G.I. Joe meets Snake Eyes. I would draw her.
She's dressed kind of like Nick Fury, like old school Nick Fury with like the white belts and the kind of blue shirt and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think I think in the inverse of you, I think I might want to give the weird stuff a shot, the Vertigo stuff.
Yeah.
Because that takes me out of my comfort zone a little bit. I had to do when I was drawing Redline, there was a couple sequences that I had to do hallucination, like drugged up sequences and stuff, and I found them actually really fun to do. And they forced me to think a little bit differently about how I was designing the page and stuff like that. I wouldn't say that I'm like a master at that stuff, because there are people out there who are masters at that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it can be fun to do sometimes. It lets you let loose a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think I would go with that. Actually, or I would do 8 pages of could I do a flashback backup story for Curse of the White Knight that's 22 pages of Alfred cleaning the penny?
Moment to moment storytelling.
Yes.
Side note, talk about business stuff. So I've gotten, because of White Knight and Curse of the White Knight, I've gotten like 10 writers who want to take a crack at writing something with White Knight. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to do with all of these amazing offers. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I thought about pitching DC a series, White Knight, Almost Got Him.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Redo Almost Got Him, but then I could give each... So you have 10 issues. Each one is written and drawn by a different team. And that would give, you a chance to do something. I would obviously try to rope in Paul Dini. Some of my other friends who were anxious to try to write Neo Joker or whatever. I don't even know what you'd do. But I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
I think it sounds pretty fun. I mean, yeah, I think it would be a pretty cool event. I don't know how stuff like that generally sells. Like, do one shots like that tend to do well? Do you know?
Well, so that's the thing. One shots are not always dependable as far as sales.
Yeah.
But if you said this is Almost Got Him, White Knight.
Oh,
that's how you brand it, and you say it's a 6-issue series. It's they're going to be told, like, you don't want to just buy one. You definitely want to get all 6. But the justification for switching writers and artists would be each issue would be about a different character explaining how they almost got Batman. And you could even set it up as this is a poker game they have every year. And the episode that we saw was just one of the many years where they do this, and not everyone always shows up for these poker games. So this would be like 10 years down the road or whatever, because that's generally what I think White Knight takes place after all that stuff. Yeah. So you could include Neo Joker. You could include I don't know, whoever you wanted. So it's not necessarily a bunch of one-shots, but it does, because you have different narrators for each flashback, you could justify getting different writers and artists to tackle each issue.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, man. I think that would be a lot of fun, because it does it allows people to play in your universe a little bit and have a lot of different people come to the plate. Yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. The one thing I do worry about, though, is allowing things to get watered down. Not that you or Paul or whoever wouldn't do a good job. I know the artist.
I like that you're mentioning me in the same breath as Paul fucking Dini.
You're welcome. But I don't know. Like, I think
like, if it comes down to me or him, I'll be okay if you go with him.
Well, no, I mean, I'd still want to push for you, because I don't think you got proper credit for helping me out, and this would be a way to,
no, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also worry about, what like the world that I've created is so tight, because I'm writing and drawing everything myself. I control everything very carefully, with the exception of Von Fries, which is, Klaus Jansen's drawing. And we'll have to see how, the reaction is on that and how the sales are. But I don't know if, I don't know how you feel about the Watchmen prequels or the sequels. I don't know what they're doing with Watchmen now. But did the prequels or sequels add to what was Watchmen? Did it get a little bastardized by the suits when they started doing that? Because, it's definitely something to...
I feel like Watchmen is a bit of a different animal, because that was a completely kind of new... Well, let's just say, for the sake of argument, it was a new universe that very much had a beginning, a middle, and an end built into it. And it was so long between when that came out and when they started doing that other stuff that, and also it was, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of how this stuff works, but like Alan Moore I know for a fact that he was not involved with it. So there's always that, there's the difference between doing something with the creator as an integral part of it, and there's doing it with the creator not as a part of it, and then it kind of starts to feel like a money grab. But like, if it's your idea, and I mean, look at BPRD, right? The offshoot of Hellboy. Mike Mignola is involved in every one of those issues, whether or not, I don't know to what extent, but his name is on every one of them as a plotter or something. So,
right. So I could be like, ring, ring. Hey, Paul, listen. I need you to rewrite. I need you to bring your A game, man. I don't need your, werewolf Batman episode. I need your heart of ice here.
Well, I mean, think of it like, some of my favorite stuff, and I think some of your favorite stuff is the Batman black and white stuff, right?
Right.
I mean, is it really that different than doing like a Batman black and white, but it's in your universe?
Well, the reason I like Batman Black and White, so for those who don't know, it's Batman Black and White is a graphic novel of short stories they put out whenever they feel like it. I think there's 4 volumes now, and you get like these major creators to come together, and nothing is colored, hence black and white. So you have like 8-page stories or 10-page stories of like the best of the best. They pay much better page rates so that everyone really brings their A game. And I enjoy those, but I'm mostly enjoying it because of the art.
Right.
There's a lot of just meh scripting that happens in those things. It's really just like a stage for the artists to kind of do their thing, I think.
Yeah.
But I think your BPRD point is actually pretty valid.
Yeah. I think if it's going to be your thing, then I assume you're going to be involved, and you have a bit of a caretaker aspect to it where. If it doesn't fly with what you have in your mind for your stuff, then it's got to be changed or something,
Right. And that's the other thing too, is like, I don't want to tell other creators what to do. Like I tend to just want to trust people and let them do their thing.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe the other argument is just keep doing what I'm doing. Just do volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. Like, don't spread it out too much. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I don't like being a manager. Like, because that's what writers are. Like, Scott Snyder is he's a writer, but he's also managing 5 different books at the same time.
Right.
Talking to different writers. Like, that's a whole other skill set that I don't necessarily want to do, you know? I mean,
Right,
I could,
right.
but I'd rather just be drawing my own shit and not being on the phone all day looking at spreadsheets, making sure things are overlapping correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's something to think about because, I mean, you're probably going to want to be involved, so you're going to have to do some of that. If I don't know what your plans are exactly after Volume 2 is done, but if you're not going directly into Volume 3, it might be a way to keep, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, where if did something like this in lieu of, in between 2 and 3, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I just want to throw it out there. I thought of it the other day, and I was going to text you, but I figured I'd just bring it up live.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure at the very least, people listening to this will be able to tell you whether or not it's a good idea.
Yeah, everyone listening. And I noticed, too, rolling out the episodes 1 week at a time seems to be garnering us more attention.
Yeah.
So we're even getting feedback like, oh, yeah, I love your idea of poison ivy.
Right.
Like the exploding Christmas trees. And I'm seeing a lot more interactions with people that are checking the podcast out. So
yeah, I just saw that today. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, so, if that person is listening again, wants to let us know on Twitter if he thinks that this is a good idea or not. White Knight almost got him, then yeah, let us know. Yeah,
that would be very cool. I'd love to hear what people think about that. I don't think did we rate this episode?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm going to go 3.
Yeah, I'm the same, I think.
And I hate to do it because it's a beautiful looking episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like the most beautiful looking middling graded episode that I've seen.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. It's funny though because I feel like I gave Terror in the Sky a 4, I think, and that was based almost entirely on the animation. And this one has, I would say this story there's less of a story in this one than there was in that one. So yeah, I think I'm comfortable giving this one a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for us. If you like the show and you want to hit us up with a comment or a question, you can find us on Twitter at BATTASS Podcast, BATTASS Podcast, or email us at battasspodcast@gmail.com, BATTASSpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to tell us whether or not you like that White Knight almost got him idea, we'd love to hear it. And, tell your friends about the show. Thanks for listening. If you want to give us a rating or review on iTunes, please do that. Would love it. And, next time we will be back with The Man Who Killed Batman and Mudslide. Ooh, a Clayface episode. I haven't seen him in a while.
Ooh, I hope it's the one I'm thinking it is.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye.